All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Happy Hour. We are rolling through these like so fast. I have no idea how manyth number this is. We've been doing this every week. And this week we have another junior instructor joining us. Everyone say hi to Nandita. Hi, Nandita. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, I'm Nandita. I am a junior in high school and I live in the Northern Virginia area.
Nice, nice. Tell us a little bit more about what you do. You are a flutist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so give us a little bit more of an introduction about yourself, a little more about you.
Yeah, sure. So I got into the flute because I began vocal training at the age of 5, and I was still learning vocal from my guru, Flute Raman. And I would go to all his concerts and I'd be so captivated by his flute playing. And I realized that that was the way that I wanted to pursue Carnatic music. And I love playing the flute because it's so melodious and the sound is so wholesome, where you could also, it's very rhythmic. So I love the wide range of things you can do with the music of the flute. I've been playing for about 7 years now.
Oh, wow, nice. So was the flute the only instrument that kind of attracted you initially? Like you must have been listening to a lot of other stuff. I guess your guru's flute playing was so inspiring that you were like, okay, I have to start learning this.
Yeah, because that learning the flute was very accessible to me, and I loved it so much. It was one of my favorite instruments at the time. Of course, like I love instruments like the mandolin, but the flute was really attractive to me at the time. I also grew up learning the piano and the Western classical flute, but Carnatic music was just really natural to me. I love the improvisation aspect of it, collaborating with the other musicians on the stage. Those are some of my favorite things about Carnatic music.
Nice. So you said you've worked with other musicians. Have you performed a lot?
Yeah, I give occasional concerts in the Northern Virginia area, sometimes in the Maryland area. I really enjoy doing traditional concerts as well as collaboration on fusion pieces as well.
That's awesome. So being in the US, why did you choose to pursue Carnatic, flute instead of like the regular Western stuff?
Yeah, I think a lot of my family members are really into Carnatic music, and I thought it was a great way to connect with my culture, my family, entertain some of the family members I don't get to see that often, and connect with them on some other level.
That's a good way. That's definitely true, right? So there's so much more to talk about when you meet family members, and I
Yeah.
bet you at every family party you're asked to bring your flute, and you'll be like, "Okay, Nandita, can you play something for us?" That happens, right? Every family gathering. Yeah, great. So like I've been very curious. I know there are different types of flutes, so like in terms of the material that they're made of. Like how important is that? Like the material. Like I know there's silver, there's gold, wood, and something bamboo. I don't know. So what's the difference between those different materials?
Yeah, so in my experience playing both the Western flute, which is made out of silver, and the bamboo flute, the Western flute has kind of a more airy, lighter sound. It's very delicate, whereas the Carnatic flute, the bamboo gives it a wholesome and deeper sound, which is what attracts me to the Carnatic flute.
Nice. So, because you are a teenager growing up in the US and you're learning classical Indian music, does that kind of influence what you listen to for fun, or are you constantly listening to like Carnatic music and trying to improve that? But you are a regular teenager, so what do you listen to for fun?
I actually love listening to Carnatic music for fun because I believe that listening to Carnatic music is one of the most important things in refining your skill. But in refining my skills and listening to Carnatic music very often, I love listening to it just for fun. Some of my favorite artists are Mandolin Srinivas, of course, my guru, Flute Raman, his guru, Flute Ramani, and Flute Giant, and Bombay Jayashree too.
Nice. That's so cool. Interesting that. So you don't listen to any other kind of your age, what music your age children are listening to?
I actually love classic rock, like 80s music. So it's a combination between the two. So I have a wide variety of interests when it comes to music.
Nice. That's awesome. What is it about music in general that you like? And do you think it has kind of shaped your personality as you've been growing?
I think music was always a great outlet for me when it comes to my creativity. Um, I love to express myself with music, the emotions, the improvisation. It's great for me to express my creativity.
Nice. That's cool. What would you say is like one piece of recording that everybody should listen to once in their life or have in their like music library?
So when it comes to Carnatic music, there are a couple of aspects that it would be good to get a variety of things from Carnatic music has to offer. So first, I would recommend some traditional pieces like Chakkani Raja, Yendaro Mahanubhavu. They capture the essence and tradition of Carnatic music. But I would also recommend some more modern sounding pieces like Tilanas. It's more of the more fun side of Carnatic music, which I really enjoy.
Nice, interesting. Why don't you play something for us? We've talked so much about music and the flute. I would love to listen to you in the middle, just play something for us, please.
Yeah, speaking of Tilanas, one of my favorite ragas and also Tilanas is Shivaranjani, so I would like to play that.
Sounds good. good. I have not listened to a live flute in a very long time. It felt like I was almost transported to this magical world. The flute's just so soothing, isn't it? It's such a nice sound.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was so good. I have a little bit of like a goosebump situation going on. Obviously, when you were singing, I was lost for a little while, just listening to how beautiful it was. I mean, when you were playing the flute. But I'm sure it's not that easy. Like, do you practice for like breath work? Because there's so much of like holding your breath that requires. And how do you kind of practice with that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Something happened with the connection.
No problem. So I was saying that it seems like it's really hard to kind of hold your breath and practice breath work. Breath work is very important for playing the
Yeah.
flute. So how do you kind of practice that, and how do you keep going with working with the breath techniques and stuff?
Yeah, breath is actually one of the most difficult parts of playing the flute. But once you've been playing for a very long time, you really get used to it. But one of the things that I recommend to beginners when I teach sometimes is to play long notes. So if you start out playing the flute, you practice those long notes. That's really going to help your breath control.
Nice, nice. Can you play us some whatever is your favorite flute piece? Do you have a favorite flute piece?
Well, Shivaranjani Thilana was one of my favorites, but the piece that I played in my intro video, Ganamurte, in the raga Gandhi, is also one of my favorites.
Okay, cool. So let's hear that and then we'll go. And I have a lot of questions, but then I am so mesmerized by your playing. I want to listen a little bit more, being a little selfish here. Very, very, very nice, Nandita. That was awesome. That's really, really good. Oh my God. How do you, how do you manage? Because this is obviously it takes a lot of time and effort, like, and must take a lot of practice as well. So how many hours firstly do you practice? Do you practice on a daily basis? Do you practice weekly? And then how are you managing school as well as, your music?
Yeah, depends on the time of year. Normally in the summer, I try to practice like 2 hours a day because that's really when I get the most time and I can improve the most. Usually at the end of the summer, I'm working towards a concert, which really motivates me to practice more and perfect my skill to improve on the compositions I'm presenting in the concert. But when it comes to practicing during the year, obviously I have school to manage. So I practice very heavily on the weekends because I'm more busy on the weekdays.
And if you have all of these concerts and stuff, those are probably on the weekends too, right? And
Yeah.
you're pretty busy through the weekends as well. And like I know in India, there's this whole Margali season where people are really busy. Is there something? Because this is my first year in the US, so I'm not sure. But is there something like that in the US?
Yeah, so in March, there's normally a theater in Cleveland. So I actually performed in that festival a couple of years ago, and that was a really good experience to see the different sides of Carnatic music. I actually sat in on a couple of jugalbandis, some concert competitions where they asked technical questions. So I was able to learn from many other people in that experience too.
Nice, nice. And what would you say is like the most memorable performance you have done so far?
I would probably say my very first performance. It was a student performance for my guru's organization. So that was really memorable because it was my first presentation to a very large audience as my first solo endeavor.
Nice. And how old were you when you were doing that?
I would probably say maybe I was 11 or 12, I think.
Nice, nice. That's pretty young and probably not too far away, not too long ago, considering how young you are. That's awesome. Would you ever? Are you considering music as a full-time career option, or like where are you? Where are your thoughts at right now?
Music is one of my greatest passions. I definitely want to pursue it in the future, and I think I want to do that through teaching young students part-time, and I think that will be really good to get Carnatic music into the next generation, which I really want to focus on in the future.
That's really nice, right? Because the whole idea of CarnaticON is also that to make this reach the next generation. So how did you get involved with CarnaticON? How did you come on board?
So I was actually participating in a fusion music production where I was able to collaborate with artists my age, and I worked with Indian Raga, and I actually met Archana through that experience, and she gave me this wonderful opportunity to work with CarnaticON.
Nice. So have you had any experience teaching at all, or is this going to be your first teaching stint?
Well, I have experience in teaching young students in the flute.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I think a lot of kids who want to learn the flute will be super excited to learn from you. This will be fun. What do you think is important, like when you're like teaching, when you're thinking about this? I mean, you're still very young, but like when you're thinking of teaching, what is a process that you have in mind? Like, do you have a flow? Do you have a structure? Like, what are your thoughts about when you're going to start teaching flute?
Yeah, so I like to start with the basics like Sarli Verse, Janta Verse, Alankaram. So mastering those is key before moving on to learning smaller compositions, and then playing exercises in different ragas is really good for developing fluency with the fingering. And obviously the long notes that I mentioned previously are really good for developing breath control. So the fundamentals are important before moving on to smaller compositions. But the compositions, getting into that early on is also really good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. When you talked about the whole finger technique, right? Like, how do you? Is it just practice? Because it looks so hard to like keep moving back and forth. And I tried learning the guitar for a bit. I was terrible at it. So like, I am hoping that over time it does get better. Maybe I should have stuck to it. Is that how it works?
Well, yeah, of course. So practicing different speeds of playing and practicing in different ragas is something I do a lot, just to improve my speed of the fingers and my fluency. So it
Yeah.
does get better.
Okay, good to know. Maybe I shouldn't have given up so early. But the whole idea behind CarnaticON and kind of like making this like a fusion spot, right, of like technology and classical Carnatic music, which is supposed to be not so modern in that sense. I think this is like the right amalgamation of the two. And do you think musicians should innovate so that more people like kids of your age would be interested in participating and learning Carnatic music?
Yeah, I actually think that there should be innovation in teaching the art because conveying it to the students in the right way is really important to foster that interest in them at a young age. So they need to be exposed to the right mix between what they know already and the tradition that is Carnatic music. So that's really important. Innovation is important to get Carnatic music into the next generation.
Yeah. Do you think that would inspire a lot of young people like you to pick up Carnatic music, like innovation? Do you think that will help?
Yeah, that definitely did for me because I love to watch fusion videos on YouTube. That's one of my main sources of entertainment. So that is really what inspired me and really taught me that Carnatic music can be blended in so many different ways. And it's really entertaining for people who don't really have that fundamental of an understanding in Carnatic music. So it's kind of a way to relate to them, and it's also entertaining for them to see culture and a art that they may have not known before.
Yeah, that's a very clever answer. Nice. In terms of like, when musicians are playing instruments, how much of an impact do you think the player has on the instrument versus like the instrument itself? Like, what kind of a difference does that make?
So my experience with the different types of flute that I've played, uh, I think that the material of the quality of the bamboo really makes a difference because it's got to be like that thick, whole sounding bamboo, and it's got to be tuned in the right way. So of course the instrument matters a significant amount, but then the emotion and the essence of Carnatic music is captured by the instrumentalist.
Sorry, I have a very so-called guard dog, but he's not actually. But yeah, cool. In terms of like you've had a pretty fast, rapid growing like musical journey so far. Like, what would you say has been like the highest point of your musical journey?
I'd say a lot of the student performances that I've given in front of an audience, those are really nice to see. Like how an audience reacts to the different musical ideas that I put out, the different experimentations that I do. Those are always really nice to see, like interacting with the audience afterwards. The Cleveland Aradhana was a great experience for me, and also collaborating with Indian Raga.
Nice. And okay, we've talked about a lot of serious stuff and everything, but tell us like a few like fun, quirky things about you that others may not know.
Well, I'm actually pretty musical on all fronts. I actually have learned the piano, the guitar, and the Western flute. So I've played in the band at school in the past. And so I like to use those instruments and create some fusion and different pieces with the Carnatic flute.
Nice.
I'm also pretty artistic. I like to make like different patterns and lettering and things like that.
Nice. So do you make your own music then?
Well, yeah, I just do like experimentation. I like to try to replicate things I see in fusion videos on YouTube, try new things of my own. some aspects from other types of music I might want to include in my concerts, things like that.
Nice. Well, I guess that's how all of this starts, right? You have to start somewhere, and you're already doing that. That's actually pretty cool. So, like, you are juggling school, you're juggling concerts, you're juggling learning, because I guess in music, like, learning is a constant experience. You never stop learning in music. How, you've told us a little bit about how you manage them, but what would be like some very good advice for people your age who are trying to do this as well?
Yeah, I think with this, the best advice that I probably received is that it's really important to put yourself out of your comfort zone. Because I would have never thought like I would be doing all of this at the same time, but it's because I'm passionate about all the things that I do, and putting myself out of my comfort zone is really what helped me become more passionate in these areas.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because I feel like I'm learning Carnatic music with CarnaticON, and so much most of the time I feel like I struggle with being like putting myself out of the comfort zone and being open to like learning and being open to making mistakes. I think that was very well put. Nice. Also, we've been talking a lot about like trying to bring this to like the younger generation and all of that. So I'm assuming when you're starting to teach, have you already started to teach here with CarnaticON?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet. So when you start teaching, right, there'll be obviously kids who are really young and who will be looking to you for inspiration. And I think you have a lot of it in you to be very inspiring and to teach them. So I'm really excited for all of these students to learn from you. It'll be pretty fun, I think. And is this the first time you're doing something like this?
Yes, I've never actually been part of a Carnatic music organization that brings I think this is the first of its kind to bring Carnatic music online to the younger generation.
Yeah. It's like so inspiring to see kids like you, because like I don't even remember what I was doing in high school. I was probably not doing much, but like here you are at this young age. You're already playing so well. You're going to be teaching, and you're going to inspire the next generation to pick up something that is hopefully no longer a dying art form. And I'm really happy to have you on the platform. But I have another question for you. So the flute that you have, do you buy that here locally in the US, or have you brought that back from India?
So this flute that I'm playing is actually from the flute maker Subhash in Delhi.
Oh, nice.
So that's where I get most of my flutes. There are different pitches of flute that I use. Sometimes I transpose in different concerts, different shrutis. So I get a wide range of notes, high, deep, everything in my concerts. So so most of my flutes come from Subhash and Delhi. Yeah.
Nice. And have you ever considered, or have you ever done this before, where you've taken like the summer, because a lot of kids here during summer break are free, right? So have you taken that time off to go to India and learn from someone there?
I haven't actually seeked out learning from somebody in India yet, but it would be really cool to get different perspectives on what I do.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume at some point, because I have friends who are learning Bharatanatyam and they spent like a summer in Chennai and they learned from like someone there, stayed in a Gurukula kind of a situation. And I think they had a really good time. So I was wondering if that's like an option for flutists too. It must be fun to go and kind of learn from where it originated and then bring back all those learnings into what you're doing here, right? It's a pretty fascinating world. I'm super fascinated with the whole CarnaticON experience and how much I'm learning through all of you people and being part of this platform. So I'm hoping that a lot of kids quickly sign up with you and start learning the flute. You have been so nice to talk to. It's been really nice. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you grow through CarnaticON, through your other avenues. I'm hoping to get to know you as you grow with the platform as well. And thank you very much for taking time out. I know you had an exam and all that, and you've given us some time, so I really appreciate it. I will let you go back to studying, and good luck for the rest of your exams. And you can say say your last few words to the rest of the kids who are going to start learning from you.
Well, I hope that you get on board with CarnaticON. Carnatic music is really great at a young age, and I think that the kids that join will be really excited to take up Carnatic music in a modern and fusion environment. So
Yeah.
it was really nice talking to you. Thanks for the opportunity to teach at CarnaticON.
Yeah, of course, that goes to Archana. It was great talking to you too. Thank you so much for your time, Nandita. You have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week in another edition of Happy Hour with CarnaticON.